Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashtyn and I make faith videos here on YouTube. And in today's video, you are joining me for a real-time Bible study of Ecclesiastes chapter 6. So let's get right into it. So I have all of my tools here. They will be listed in the description box if you want to get them. So I am using the Tony Evans Study Bible, and this is in the Christian Standard Bible. I also have like various sticky notes and highlighters. And then I also have my digital Bible study worksheet. So this is what I'm going to be using to kind of talk through our Bible study today. If you want to get a copy for yourself, you can. It will be in the description box as well. So let's hop right into our study. The first thing that we're going to do is read the chapter, not highlighting, not wanting to take notes, just familiarizing ourselves with the chapter that we're going to read. I almost forgot, we are hopping into chapter 6, but if you haven't read chapters 1 through 5, then either read those, still read them, but you can also check out the cards and watch the previous Bible study videos that I did on those chapters. All right, so like I said, we're going to hop in and we're going to start just by reading the chapter, not taking any notes, not highlighting anything. So let's do that first. All right, so now that we've finished reading, next we're going to do another read through, and you can do this in the same Bible, you can do this in a different version if you want, but now we're going to go through and we're going to highlight and we're going to start making observations. So for you, if you are taking notes a different type of way, then you can just write down like what you're noticing, what words are being repeated. With my Bible study worksheet, the first page is the page for observation. So some of the things that I'm going to write down are the people. The first person that I'm going to write down is Solomon, just because I know that that is the author. But if you were reading maybe a book that was more like narrative, then you would write down more of the people that are listed. But we're going to write down the people, the topics, and the themes, the summary, and then the key verses. So let's do that. All right, so feel free to follow along and share these things in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys are pulling out of the text. So, like I said, for people, I just put Solomon. For the topics and the themes, I have number one, under the sun, which is a repetitive like theme or phrase that Solomon uses, basically just meaning like here on earth and like the lived human experience. Another like topic or theme or just I guess repeated word that I saw in this chapter was tragedy. So he says God gives a person riches, wealth, and honor, but they are not able to enjoy it, and that is a tragedy. He also talks about futility, which is the main theme just of this book. Living life and not being able to enjoy it. Everybody ends up in the same place. And this is just such an interesting book, being in the Bible, because it's not prescriptive, right? It's not telling us how to live, but it is a very real part of the human experience, I think, because we see and experience so much brokenness and bad things that sometimes it is just like, what is this all for? And so I just wanted to point that out because I think that's a good thing for us to keep in mind as we are moving throughout this book, is that it is not telling us what to do or how we should think, but instead we're hearing the very real thoughts of a man who had it all, right? So for my summary, I wrote, here Solomon is basically saying, what good is life if you don't get to enjoy it while you're here? He says that it's better off being stillborn than to live 1,000 years twice and not experience happiness, because we all end up in the same place. And the key verses for me were verses 5 and 6, which says in my Bible, though a stillborn child does not see the sun and is not conscious, it has more rest than he. And if a person lives 1,000 years twice, but does not experience happiness, do not both go to the same place. And it's just so crazy for like this statement, I guess, to be in the Bible, that like basically it's better off to be a stillborn. It's better off to just not be born at all than to live this life and not experience like joy in it. Almost, it's just kind of like, wow. But you know, there are some people who are experiencing this life and they feel that way. I know for me that I've had seasons where I've felt that way, right? Where it's like, I would rather have just not been born than have to experience this life or this tragedy or just a disappointment. So again, like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts. So that is our observation. Next, we're going to get into interpretation and application. If you are using the Bible study worksheet, then you know the question for interpretation is, what did this mean to them? Them being the original audience. And so this would be like the Jewish people. What did these words that Solomon penned mean to them? And then application is, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for us as believers today? So let's take a moment and reflect on that. All right, so again, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So in terms of interpretation, I kept this pretty general just because he's not writing to like a specific person, or it's not like, you know, Paul writing to the church in Rome or Ephesus. So I basically said, at that time there was uncertainty about the afterlife. For Solomon to be a man with great wealth and wisdom to feel this way about life could have left them feeling purposeless or just discouraged about this life. This book, or at least where we are in this specific chapter, doesn't leave a lot of hope. So for application, what does this mean for me or us? This is where the hope comes in, because we know Jesus, right? At that time, Jesus had not yet come. So again, like, they didn't know what the afterlife looked like. So for us today, though we may experience similar thoughts, we know that our life does not come from life itself, but from Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life. Our feelings are not truth. Jesus is, and Jesus is the Word, which means this is where we find our purpose for life. This being the Word of God is where we find our purpose for life, not in material things, right? So even if we amass billions of dollars and houses and cars and children and all of the things, that is not what gives us purpose. That is not what gives life meaning. Jesus is also called the bread of life and the well that never runs dry. In him alone, we will find satisfaction. And that was for like verse 7. It says, all of a person's labor is for his stomach, yet the appetite is never satisfied. What advantage then does the wise person have over the fool? What advantage is there for the poor person who knows how to conduct himself before others? So it's like, if you're never going to be satisfied if all of your labor goes to your stomach, but Jesus being the bread of life, Jesus being, the well that never runs dry, that's where our satisfaction as believers comes from, not from how much we can amass, not how much we can consume, right? And I think that that's so important in this overconsumption influencer landscape that we are living in. It can be easy to get wrapped up in that and think that we need more and more and more. But what does it look like to be satisfied with Jesus and satisfied with what we have, right? That doesn't mean to be complacent, but to be content. And this is definitely something that the Lord is working on me with. And so I've been working hard to just practice gratitude, to write down the things that I'm grateful for, all the things, because Solomon was human just like the rest of us. And so it is very real to want more, or to have more and still feel like it's not enough. And that's how we get trapped in this cycle. And then life goes by and it is a shadow, and you look back and you're like, what was it all for, right? And I think that that's the place where Solomon ended up, where it's like, I did all of these things, I amassed all of these things, but what was it all for? And I don't think you or I want to get to the end of our life and ask that question. So I pray that this Bible study was helpful for you today, and that you were encouraged by it. If you were, please leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you guys next time in our next Bible study. Bye.